I was diagnosed with a medical condition that required rest. My in-laws said it was laziness and canceled my appointments behind my back. When I collapsed during a family event, I woke up alone in a room, but not the room they expected because I never thought my own family, the one I married into, would treat me worse than strangers. But that's exactly what happened. It started small. Around late 2021, I began feeling off. Not just tired, but like I was dragging myself through wet cement every single day. I chalked it up to stress from work. Teaching teenagers in Fort Wayne during and after COVID was no joke. Everyone was burned out. But this felt different. I couldn't focus. My muscles ached all the time. I'd get heart palpitations from walking to the kitchen. Then came the dizziness, the brain fog. I knew something was wrong. After 3 different doctors and 6 months of testing, I finally got answers. Autoimmune. Systemic. My immune system was basically attacking my own body. I need medication, treatment plans, and most importantly, rest. My doctor looked me straight in the eye and said, "You need to slow down. No stress. No overexerción. You push too hard, and it will push back." I told Rick that night. His face was blank for a few seconds, then he rubbed his temples and muttered, "You sure this isn't just exhaustion?" I showed him the diagnosis papers. The list of labs. The treatment plan. His first real question? "So, how much is this going to cost?" That should have told me everything, but I didn't want to believe it. We'd been married almost 8 years. I thought he'd grow into the kind of man who supported his wife when she needed him. I was wrong. At first, he pretended to be on my side. He even drove me to 2 appointments. But his patience wore thin fast. Every time I had to lie down or cancel a plan, he rolled his eyes. One night I caught him telling his dad, "She's acting like she's terminal," but the doctor didn't say that. "It's just one of those tired all the time things." His mother Carla took it even further. "She has this fake sweet voice she uses when she's being cruel." "Oh, poor baby, did you have to rest again today?" she'd coo with a smirk. Then she'd post those passive-aggressive Facebook memes about strong women who don't whine. I tried to draw boundaries. I stopped going to Sunday dinners. I told Rick I couldn't host family in our house while I was recovering from treatment. That's when Carla started calling the clinic, pretending to be me. I didn't find out until I got a call from the nurse asking if I'd rescheduled again. Again? That night I dug into the clinic's phone records. My stomach dropped when I saw calls from Rick's mother's number. When I told Rick, he didn't even look surprised. "She just thinks you're making it worse by dwelling on it. Maybe she's right." That was the moment I knew I was alone in this. Still, I kept trying. I kept going to work when I could. I took care of the house. I kept showing up at family events because Rick said it'll mean a lot to them. It didn't mean anything to them. Thanksgiving was the last straw. I told Rick I wasn't well enough to go. I'd been feeling dizzy all week. I had an appointment the day before, and my doctor said my blood pressure was unstable. But Rick begged. "They'll talk if you don't come. Just for a few hours. Sit down, eat, and then we'll leave early." He lied. We arrived at his cousin's house around 2 p.m., and I immediately felt off. I barely made it to the couch. Carla walked in, gave me a once-over, and said, "Oh, you look better already. Maybe you were just bored." I tried to drink water and keep quiet, but the noise, the heat, the pressure of sitting upright, it all hit me at once. I remember standing up to go to the bathroom. Then the floor came up fast. My knees buckled. I hit something on the way down. Then everything went dark. When I woke up, it was quiet. I was hooked up to an 4, heart monitor beeping slow and steady. I assumed I was at St. Joseph's in Fort Wayne. But I wasn't. I was in a facility in Indianapolis. And the person who got me there wasn't Rick. The first voice I heard when I came to wasn't Rick's. It wasn't Carla's either. It was my sister, Nicole. She lives down in Bloomington. We hadn't been as close the past few years, mostly because Rick didn't like her. He said she was too opinionated and had a chip on her shoulder. Truth was, Nicole never liked how Rick treated me. She called it out early on, and I brushed it off. Said she was being dramatic. Now I know she was right. She must have seen my eyes flutter, because suddenly her face was over me, eyes red but focused. "You're awake," she said, stroking my hair like she used to when we were kids. "You scared the hell out of me." I tried to speak, but I couldn't get words out. My throat was dry, my mouth full of cotton. Nicole leaned in and whispered, "Don't worry. You're safe now. They're not here." I was in a specialized autoimmune unit at IU Health Methodist Hospital. Nicole had demanded I be transferred here after she found me alone in the ER at the local hospital in Carmel. Rick had ridden in the ambulance with me, but left before they finished admitting me. According to the nurse, he said, "She just needs fluids. We'll come back for her later." But they never did. Nicole got a call from one of Rick's cousins, someone who was horrified at how I was treated. She told Nicole I collapsed, and Rick acted more embarrassed than concerned. Carla was apparently cracking jokes while I was unconscious on the floor. Nicole drove 2.5 hours that night. When she found out no one from my family had stayed with me, she lost it. She demanded a full medical workup and called in a favor from her ex, a nurse at this hospital. That's how I ended up here. She paid for the transfer herself. Rick didn't even call. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not until late afternoon the day after Thanksgiving. His voicemail was 2 sentences long. "Hey. Hope you're feeling better. Call me when you can. We should talk. We should talk." Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "Are you okay?" Just cold, flat indifference. Nicole stayed with me the next 4 days. She canceled her weekend plans, brought me clothes, held my hand while doctors adjusted my treatment plan. She read over my lab results with me, helped me understand the medications. She even coordinated with my school to get my medical leave extended. Meanwhile, Rick didn't visit once. Not one text from Carla. Nothing from anyone on his side of the family. Nicole found out something else too. While I was in the hospital, Rick used my absence to meet with a divorce attorney. He'd already moved money from our joint account into his own. The money we'd saved for our house repairs. Nearly $8,000 gone. When Nicole checked the home security cameras remotely, I had her on the app from a while back, she saw Carla walking through the house with boxes. Not helping. Taking things. He thought I wouldn't find out. That I'd be too weak, too sick, too dependent. That's when Nicole and I started planning. Nicole and I didn't move fast. We moved smart. She knew I needed to recover first, so we didn't talk revenge. Not yet. But in the quiet moments at the hospital, when the pain dulled just enough to think, I started remembering things differently. Noticing patterns I had ignored. Like how Rick always discouraged me from setting up my own online banking. He insisted he'd handle the bills. How he'd ask me to sign blank checks for emergencies. How Carla once joked that I wasn't the type to need a prenup anyway. I had been sick longer than I realized. And while I was slowly falling apart, Rick and Carla had been positioning themselves like vultures. Not just emotionally, but financially. Nicole's friend, a family law paralegal, helped us get into the weeds. Turns out, Rick had opened a credit card in my name 2 years ago. Maxed it out last summer. On things like home improvements, he never told me about car parts and hotel charges from a weekend. I thought he was on a golf trip with his dad. He was siphoning off money, quietly, while making me feel like a burden. Then I learned the worst part. Rick had taken out a short-term health insurance policy in my name, one that he was the beneficiary of. The kind people use when they're anticipating a payout. Nicole found the documents in a shared Google Drive folder he forgot to log out of on our home computer. The date he signed up for it? 3 days after my diagnosis. I went cold. All this time I thought they just didn't believe me. That they thought I was lazy. That they were just cruel and dismissive. But this wasn't just denial. They were waiting me out. Trying to wear me down. Maybe even hoping I'd collapse and not get back up. If I died from natural causes, with no strong support around me, Rick would walk away with the insurance money. No questions asked. He wasn't just a bad husband. He was preparing to cash in on my illness. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I wrote it all down. Every timeline, every login, every receipt. Nicole had one more surprise. She'd recorded the call from Rick's cousin, the one who tipped her off. In it, the cousin said, they left her in that ER like she was someone else's problem. I don't know what Rick told them, but Carla kept saying, she's just faking again. Let her sleep it off. That call was legal to record in Indiana. And now we had it. Nicole and I didn't just want revenge. We wanted it airtight. Because if Rick wanted to make me disappear quietly, he had no idea who he was messing with. Nicole and I spent the next few weeks building the case. Not a legal one yet. First, we needed leverage. Proof. Evidence that couldn't be explained away with charm or lies. Nicole contacted her old college roommate, Lydia, who now worked for a forensic accounting firm in Chicago. Lydia agreed to look over Rick's financials. We gave her access to the joint statements, the mysterious credit card, and screenshots from the hidden health policy. She cross-referenced it with Rick's employment records and noticed something odd right away. Rick had lied to me about his income. He wasn't barely scraping by. He'd received 2 bonuses in the past year and a side payment from a consulting job. That money never made it into our joint account. He'd been funneling it into a personal savings account under his name only, one he registered just months after my diagnosis. Lydia also flagged that Rick had changed the beneficiaries on his life insurance a month prior, removing me and adding Carla. Nicole's hands started shaking when she read that part out loud to me. It was a plan. Coordinated. Intentional. They wanted my health to look worse on paper. Missed appointments. Canceled treatment. A pattern of negligence. All signs of someone not taking care of themselves. So if something happened, they could say it wasn't anyone's fault. We printed everything. Made copies. Nicole kept a duplicate set at her place in Bloomington. Another copy went into a safety deposit box under her name. I backed up all the emails, login data, call logs, and credit reports to a cloud drive only I had access to. But we still needed something more. Something public. So I went quiet. No updates on social media. No contact with Rick. When he finally called, I let it go to voicemail. The messages shifted from "we should talk" to "why are you being like this?" to "you're making this more complicated than it needs to be." Then he stopped trying. 2 weeks later, I checked our home security app. The cameras had been turned off. Nicole and I drove back to Fort Wayne on a Sunday afternoon when we knew Rick would be out at work. I walked through my own front door and felt like a stranger. My stuff was gone. Photos from our wedding were off the walls. The bed had different sheets. Carla's ugly vase was on the kitchen table. I went straight to the closet and found what I expected. Rick's suitcase was missing. He'd moved out without telling me. There was a note taped to the fridge. "I'm filing for divorce. This is for the best. I've moved in with Mom until we figure things out. You can keep the house if you can afford it." He thought he'd taken everything from me. Control, stability, maybe even my health. What he didn't know was that by walking away, he handed me the one thing I needed most. Freedom. And I was about to use it. I didn't answer Rick's note. I didn't call him. I didn't fight about the house. Instead, I waited. I met with a lawyer Nicole recommended. A woman named Beth who specialized in complex divorce and fraud cases. The moment she saw the file I handed her, printouts, screenshots, the insurance documents, the audio recording, she leaned back in her chair and said, "This isn't a divorce. This is a takedown." The first move was simple. We filed for divorce before Rick could. Indiana is a no-fault state, but we attached a petition for spousal support citing medical hardship and marital misconduct. The misconduct? Attempted financial fraud. Beth filed a motion to freeze all joint accounts. Rick's secret savings account? Now a matter of public record in the divorce proceedings. The hidden credit card? Evidence of financial abuse. The health insurance policy with him as beneficiary? That was the nail in the coffin. We also filed a restraining order preventing Rick and Carla from entering the house or contacting me directly. Since Rick moved out, he'd legally abandoned residency. Now the house was mine. Officially. When Rick was served the paperwork, he called me for the first time in over a month. I didn't pick up. Instead, I posted on Facebook, publicly, something simple but sharp. To anyone who has watched me go quiet over the last year, I've been recovering from illness and recovering from betrayal. Thank you to those who reached out. The rest of you, especially the ones who canceled my medical care behind my back, know this. I'm not weak anymore. I'm coming back. Stronger. Smarter. And I remember everything. People noticed. Fast. Rick's cousin, the one who tipped off Nicole, shared it. Others started messaging me. I learned Carla had been bragging that I faked being sick so well it almost worked. That Rick told friends I went crazy and ran off. Now they looked like monsters. The real revenge came during the divorce deposition. Rick sat across the table from me, still trying to act calm. He wore a cheap suit and that fake, smug smile. But his hands were shaking. Beth laid it out piece by piece. The fraudulent card, the health insurance, the secret accounts, the canceled appointments traced to Carla's number. Rick tried to claim ignorance. That wasn't me. That was my mother. Beth leaned in. You gave her access. That makes you complicit. And based on your own bank records, you stood to benefit from her actions. He turned red. Carla was outside the building, waiting. She wasn't allowed in. The judge wasn't impressed either. By the time it was over, the court awarded me full ownership of the house, ongoing spousal support for 3 years, reimbursement of the $8,000 he took from our joint savings, all medical debts cleared under joint responsibility, and a written court order banning Carla from contacting me in any way, but I wasn't done. I filed a complaint with his employer, an HR-certified ethics complaint including the documents proving he committed financial abuse against a disabled spouse. He lost his job 2 weeks later. Carla? Word got around. Her church, her garden club, the little community of women she gossiped with, now they knew. She wasn't some no-nonsense matriarch. She was the woman who tried to kill her daughter-in-law by negligence. Her reputation never recovered. And me? I healed. Slowly, yes. But for the first time, I was healing with support. Nicole and I are close again. I switched to remote teaching until I felt stronger. My doctor adjusted my treatment, and the stress being gone made all the difference. Rick tried to reach out one last time. He emailed me some long-winded apology about how he wasn't himself and was under pressure and made mistakes. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to Beth and blocked him for good. Because here's the truth he'll never understand. I didn't just survive him. I dismantled him. Piece by piece. Paper by paper. He thought I was weak because I was sick. But what he didn't realize is, sick doesn't mean stupid. Sick doesn't mean helpless. And sick sure as hell doesn't mean done. Not when you've still got fight left. Not when you finally remember who you are.